I can't believe it's come to an end. Is it really over? Okay, let's not get too sad. Let's just be glad it happened, right? Anyways, Wave 6 is out, and it brought along 8 new tracks and a whopping 4 new characters to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Of course, I've played Wave 6 as well, and today, for the very last time, I'm gonna give my opinions on Wave 6, from the core selection to stuff like the graphics and music. And at the end, well, I don't really have to predict anymore, do I? Instead, I'll just be giving my views and opinions on the Booster Course Pass and the past 2 years for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as a whole. So, without any further ado, let's get into the video. Kicking off the Acorn Cup is Tour's Rome Avanti. This city track is a relatively recent addition to Tour, and it's a pretty good one. Driving in a Coliseum and the very complex layout, it was quite fun. And here it is in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The track looks absolutely stunning with the night sky and bright lights, and the track also plays really well despite the complicated layout. Avoiding chain jumps in the Coliseum and rocky wrenches and fuzzies at the Piazza Navona, it's all very fun to do. Combine that with a relatively difficult track to drive across and you've got yourselves a very decent city track. Moving on to GameCube's DK Mountain. Wait, this is the second track and not the circuit? Oh well. Regardless, DK Mountain is just as fun as it has always been. I mean, it's DK Mountain. Do I really need to say much more? Getting blasted off by a cannon to the top of the mountain and having to drive back down it, avoiding boulders and cracks in the road. It's very fun to do, especially because of the phenomenal controls of Deluxe. And of course, you still have that shaking bridge at the end, always trying to work against you. This track is great. Next up is Wii's Daisy Circuit. Ever since the release of Wave 5, a lot of people have been speculating about this track's return in the final wave. And well, it's true, because it's finally here in Deluxe. As far as circuit tracks go, this was always the best one, because of the sunset setting and the decently intriguing layout, at least for a circuit track. And everything that made the original great is still here, and even some new things were added, like a trick ramp after the tunnel and a few boost pads around the lighthouse, adding even more hecticness to the race. Not to mention that this rendition looks stunning and the music is gorgeous as well. And finally, for the Acorn Cup, we have Tour's Piranha Plant Cove. Ever since its release in Tour, I was always very intrigued by its theme and layouts, taking place in some sort of desolate archipelago with underwater ruins. And now that it's here in Deluxe, my god, it looks freaking spectacular. But besides the graphics, the rest of the track is also very interesting. The track fuses the 3 variants from Tour into one track, and it does it beautifully. This track kind of even makes me think of Dolphin Shoals, which is definitely a plus in my book. But regardless, Piranha Plant Cove is a very fun track that really shows its true potential in this game, not only because of the graphics, but also the intriguing layout and fun track design. Moving on to the Spiny Cup, first up we have Tour's Madrid Drive, the most recent city track from Tour. From the release of its first 2 variants, it was already a pretty solid city track, and its 3rd variant only made it better. And just like Rome Avanti, Madrid's 3 variants are incorporated in Deluxe as one pretty darn good 3-lap track. You get to drive through a football stadium avoiding soccer balls, a plaza avoiding wigglers, and even the Prado Museum avoiding piranha plants and having some beautiful Mario artwork. The progression of each lap feels incredibly natural, and the track is also very fun. This is definitely one of the better city tracks in the game. Next up is 3DS Rosalina's Ice World. I gotta be honest, when this track popped up in the trailer, I was stoked, because it meant we would get another 3DS track after all. And then I played it, and this track is actually pretty good in this game. Rosalina's Ice World has never really been a popular track, mostly because it was quite forgettable in 7 and there were also many better options to choose from. But hey, at least we got a snowy track in Holiday Wave, right? If only Nintendo would have just kept Vancouver Velocity in Wave 6. Regardless, Rosalina's Ice World is a pretty decent track, having to avoid penguins on the water, and they even added a shortcut at the end. Unfortunately, the track is still relatively forgettable, but at least it got a pretty decent glow up in this game. Moving on to SNES Bowser's Castle 3. As soon as this track got remade for Tour, it was very clear that we'd see this track in the Booster Course Pass because of all the crazy elevation and comparisons against the other SNES remakes in Tour. And well, here it is in Deluxe, and my goodness, it does not disappoint in the slightest. As far as SNES remakes go, this one is by far the best in the series. Not only does it look far better than the other SNES track in the DLC, but the track design is actually interesting as well, and also pretty damn difficult, which is highly appreciated as the penultimate course in the entire game. It's honestly a bit short, but still very enjoyable. Easily the best SNES track in the game, and also the best SNES remake we've ever seen. And last but certainly not least, we have Wii Rainbow Road. This was always one of the best Rainbow Roads in the series, if not the best. And despite Tour mostly ruining this track by desaturating the road and making it into a two-section course, the Booster Course Pass rendition brings this track back to how amazing it has always been in Wii. The track's high difficulty is back, the ramps around the large holes have returned, and the track looks beautiful as well. The half-pipes are still as janky as they always were, and overall this remake is extremely faithful to the original, which is only a good thing. This has always been one of the best Mario Kart tracks of all time, and this remake only enhances everything, especially the visuals. So overall, I'm very happy with how the course selection of this wave turned out. Of course, it's not perfect, like having Rosalina's Ice World instead of another 3DS track like Shy Guy Bazaar or the Woohoo tracks, but still, this wave is definitely the best out of all of them. None of the tracks are bad at all, and the selection is also by far the strongest out of all the waves. Moving on to the graphics, and man, they look freaking phenomenal in this wave. Every wave before this has had at least one track that looked very plasticky. Toad Circuit, Mario Circuit 3, Rock Mountain, Mario Circuit, and Koopa Cape. While Koopa Cape doesn't look bad at all, visually it definitely stands out from Tour the least out of all the Wave 5 tracks. However, in this wave, there's not even a single mediocre looking track. Every single track here looks fantastic. The Tour tracks all look really nice, especially Piranha Plant Cove. They finally learned to add some textures to the building that aren't just noise, and Piranha Plant Cove looks very close to a base game track. There's so much detail everywhere, and the lighting and aesthetics are pulled off incredibly well. Then there's DK Mountain. Out of all the tracks in this wave, this one probably looks the worst, but that hardly means anything considering it still looks very decent. The rocks have texture, the mountain's face looks quite sinister, and the jungle environment looks very lush. Rosalina's Ice World looks phenomenal, and it's mainly due to its theme and nighttime setting. The track also has amazing aesthetics due to the Mario Galaxy theming, and the reflections on the ice and water just give the track even more depth and atmosphere. Daisy Circuit already looked great from the reveal trailer, and well, nothing has really changed. The road and the sunset look gorgeous, and the detailed buildings and environment add a lot of flair and charm to the track. Then there's Bowser's Castle 3, which defies all odds and actually looks incredible. It's crazy to compare this to Mario Circuit 3. The difference is like night and day. The lava looks extremely detailed, and so do the structures. This legitimately looks like a base game track, and that's an amazing feat, especially for a SNES track. And finally, Wii Rainbow Road. I mean, do I really need to say anything? Just look at it. The sides of the road glow in a beautiful yellow light, and the distant planets and asteroids add so much flavor to the track. This track is gorgeous. As for the music in this wave, I can't help but feel a little bit disappointed. Now, of course, music is entirely people's personal taste, but I'm not really the biggest fan of this wave's OST. Waves 1, 3, and 5 had phenomenal soundtracks. All this time later, Tokyo Blur, London Loop, Blue Lake, Koopa Cape's Underwater, and Moonview Highway are still my favorite songs from the Booster Course Pass. Waves 2 and 4 also didn't have bad OSTs, but nowhere near as good as the unevenly numbered waves. Wave 6 OST is probably in between these groups of waves. The only song I really like in this wave is Wii Rainbow Road, and while I also somewhat enjoy Daisy Circuit, Piranha Plant Cove, and Rosalina's Ice World, they're not really close to the same level of stuff like Tokyo Blur or Blue Lake. Don't get me wrong, Wave 6 soundtrack is not bad at all, but there's only one or two songs which I really like, and while the rest aren't necessarily bad, I'm not the biggest fan of them. But now, finally, my opinions on the Booster Course Pass. This has been an amazing journey for Mario Kart fans, giving us a crap ton of new content in not just a Deluxe, but also Tour as well. The content in Deluxe basically got doubled, practically being enough for a whole new game if they decided to go that route. Of course, the Booster Course Pass is far from perfect. I mean, we got Toad Circuit instead of literally any other 3DS track, and the graphics in Waves 1 and 2 are far from great. There's also some other questionable track selections, like SNES Mario Circuit 3, and especially DS Mario Circuit. And of course, don't forget about Nintendo favoring Peachette instead of literally any other character from Thor, like Nabbit, Hammerbro, Monty Mole, etc. Hell, even other clone characters would have been better than freaking Peachette. But regardless of those flaws, the booster course pass has been fantastic. Even if it had quite a rocky start, it has improved significantly over the span of 6 Wave, and it's great to see that Nintendo took a lot of our feedback, especially on the graphics, and actually listened. And of course, it's a shame they didn't fix Sunset Wilds, but that's only one track out of so many. Overall, I'm extremely satisfied with how the game turned out, and it will probably always remain as my favorite Mario Kart game ever. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video and joining me along this journey. It has been incredibly enjoyable, and of course it doesn't stop here, because near the end of this month I will upload my very first prediction video where I'll try to predict the upcoming Mario Kart game. So if you're interested, be sure to subscribe and check that video out when it releases. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and do more of that fancy stuff, and I hope to see you in the next video. See you later, and goodbye.